Hey everyone, so I'm going to try and do something a little different here and maybe start a new mini series of videos where I do just basic first impressions of games that I'd be interested in talking about but don't quite have the time to do a full trash or treasure video on just yet. Maybe someday I'll do them, but I'd like to give you guys something for now. So in this case, we're going to be doing Fire Emblem 3 Houses for the Nintendo Switch that just came out a few days ago. So I don't have the most vast experience when it comes to Fire Emblem. The ones I've played and completed so far are Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS, which I absolutely adored. Then I got Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright, also on the 3DS, which I liked, but I didn't quite like as much as Awakening. The second half of the game got a bit too tough for me. It mostly relied on luck, and I didn't quite enjoy that. And I have got Fire Emblem Fate's Conquest as well, but I've only done a few missions of that, and I haven't gone back to it since, and I think at this rate I'll just have to start over because I really don't remember what happened. Nevertheless, I was still interested in trying out the newest game, especially since it's the first one to come on console since, I want to say, 2008, when Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn came out for the Wii. So not only could you play this on your TV again, but you could also take it on the go, which was a huge selling point for me. But as more and more about the game was covered on Nintendo's Direct or various trailers, it seemed like it was not going to be your typical Fire Emblem adventure. There was a big focus on this academy where you had to choose a house and you were also the professor and had to teach your students the way of fighting and sword skills and archery and all that. And upon first glance, I was quite worried about this because I thought that it was going to be spending more time doing that and running around this academy socializing with people than you were actually fighting demons and monsters and all that, like you would normally in a Fire Emblem game. And to an extent, I'm sort of half right, but there are still plenty of opportunities where you do get to battle. I've so far put only around 10 hours into Fire Emblem 3 Houses and watched my brother play through some of the game, and he's around the 20-hour mark or so. So I think I've got plenty to cover here. So I quickly want to talk about the battles themselves first. I think they're just as good as they were in previous Fire Emblem games where you and your opponents would take turns moving your units and attacking them, and then you would have different objectives like clearing all the enemies or defeating the commander, that sort of thing. The one thing I did immediately notice was missing was the weapons triangle system that Fire Emblem's usually known for, like swords beat axes, axes beat lances, lances beat swords, that sort of thing. This whole rock, paper, scissors mechanic that made the battle system so unique, and now it's just gone for some reason. I don't really know why this is gone because it's sort of a series staple and it added some strategy to the games, and now every unit can equip any weapon at any time. It's just a matter of how proficient they are with the weapons, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, I did have some characters sticking with one weapon for a while, but it was just kind of a guessing game as to what weapon did what damage to an enemy. I frequently would have to scroll through my weapons list to see which one hurt more for some reason, and then afterwards I would have to scroll through the new combat arts, which are like these super attacks that you can add to your weapons, but they cost more durability. That was one thing I really did like. The weapon durability is back, because for some reason it was missing in Fire Emblem Fates. And even though the weapon triangle is gone, I'm glad at least that the combat arts still made you think about what your next move was. Like, do you want to attack the enemy as normal and just don't lose that much durability, or do you want to completely destroy him and risk breaking your weapon faster? I also really like these new battalions that the characters have. It's where you send like this huge army towards the enemy and you yourself don't take any damage. I thought that was really cool, but you only get to use them a limited amount of times. You do have to spend money afterwards to replenish them, but it's such a paltry amount, I'm not really sure why they bothered. And one other major addition that I really liked was the Divine Pulse system. This is where you can turn back the clock to any point during a previous turn and you can correct a mistake or something like that. For someone who usually puts permadeath on for Fire Emblem games, which basically means once your characters are dead, they can't come back, this was an absolute godsend for me. There was no worse feeling in previous Fire Emblem games where you would spend maybe 20 to 30 minutes doing a battle and then you screw up at the very end or luck just wasn't on your side and then you have to do the whole thing over again. It was an absolute mess. So I am really glad this is an option now. If you don't have permadeath on, then this feature won't really matter that much to you, but if you do have permadeath on, then oh my god, it is an absolute treat. And I haven't unlocked these yet, but you do still get paralogs, which are basically side stories that you can do, but you have to unlock them through various means first. And also some quests in the academy will require you to battle for them. So you do still get plenty of opportunities to battle, and even though the weapons triangle system is missing, it can still be a lot of fun. But when you're not doing battles, then the other half of the game is just running around the academy, chatting with people, if it's your students or your friends, just giving them gifts or lost items, and then eventually you'll be able to have tea with them. All of that side stuff is mainly just to increase their support, which returns from previous Fire Emblem games. Just like before, if you have a character support high enough, you can have them chat to each other and raise their social rank, basically, so that way they can rely on each other more during battles, and they'll also have increased stats and that sort of thing. It works just as well as previous Fire Emblem games, because you also get to learn more about the characters, who a majority of them are pretty likable, which is usually the standard for Fire Emblem. I was pretty daunted about how big the academy would be, but it really didn't take that long for me to find everything it had to offer. So all that was left was just keep chatting to the students and engage yourself in side quests. And the side quests, from what I've engaged myself in so far, aren't like your traditional fetch quests. They actually do unlock more features in the academy for you. So for example, there's this one side quest where you have to collect items for these 4 statues in the church. And then once you've done that, you can spend your renown points that you've accumulated for the past several hours on permanent upgrades like more experience or more uses for the Divine Pulse, which is really cool. On top of the side quests, as I mentioned, you can also socialize with your various teammates. So you can have like a buffet with them in the academy's dining halls. There's the tea parties, as I mentioned earlier. You can give them flowers on their birthdays. There's also fishing you can do, which thankfully is a lot easier than most RPGs these days. I don't really know what the fascination is with fishing in games these days. If you also approach certain lecturers, then you can also get some training done for certain weapons. There's only so much you can do in one day at the academy, so there's like this little meter to let you know how much time is going to be spent doing this one activity, and also how much time you have left before you can basically do nothing at the end of the day. The entire academy system works very much like it does in a Persona game. There are only certain things you can do in a specific day, like these lectures that you can give to your students to help raise their weapon proficiency, and also to obtain certain skills like horse riding or flying. And as their weapon proficiency levels up, they'll obtain new skills and combat arts that you can use for battle. And just like running around in the academy, there's only so much time in the day that you can give lectures, you know, because you can't cram their heads too much with information. And as for the 3 houses subtitle, that's all done at the beginning of the game, where you can choose which house you want to be in. It doesn't affect the story much, it just affects what units you have at the beginning of the game. But then as you level up your skills and weapon proficiency, you can recruit other members from other houses to your class. So it's not like you're gonna miss one super duper powerful unit, you just need to work for it. Maybe someday I will see what it's like to go through all 3 houses, but we're talking about an 80-hour game here, so times that by 3, and yeah, that's too much. As for the characters I started with, some of them are pretty cool. I rather like Dorothea. She's got a pretty cool design for her, and she can be a bit cold sometimes, but I like how much of a diva she is. Petra is probably one of my absolute favorites, though. Just her not having much of an expansive vocabulary makes her pretty humorous. Bernadetta's nervousness can get quite grating at times, but I am interested to see if she grows a pair anytime soon, so I'll just try and level her up as much as I can. I also quite liked Edelgard, the leader from my house, the Black Eagles. She was pretty cool. Oddly enough, it's the men I find the least interesting. Some of them are either too much of a stick in the mud, too focused on training, or too busy breaking women's hearts. It's not exactly charming or compelling. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about Fire Emblem 3 Houses so far. Like I said, I've barely scratched the surface with this, only doing 10 hours out of a potential 80. So this is going to take me a while to finish. Whether or not I'll be doing a Trash or Treasure video on this soon, I can't really say, especially because I want to go over some previous Fire Emblem games, but since I can't record 3DS stuff, I won't be able to do stuff like Awakening or Fate, so I don't know when it's going to happen at this point. I'd overall say so far I'm enjoying my time with 3 Houses. Whether or not the length will be an issue, I'm not sure, but I guess I'll wait and see. Well, thank you everyone for watching my first impressions video, and if you like what you saw, then please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of these, and I will see you later. Take care.